For 2 years, everyone obsessed over prompt engineering, hunting for the perfect magic words. In 2026, that skill has a successor, and it's the one that actually matters now: context engineering. Because a model's answer is only ever as good as what is sitting in its context window, and deciding what goes in there is the real craft. Here's the shift. Prompt engineering was about the question you ask. Context engineering is about everything the model sees when it answers: the instructions, the memory, the retrieved facts, the tools, the history. For a simple chatbot, that's a nice to have. For an AI agent taking many steps, it is the entire game. So let's learn to engineer the context. Picture the two side by side. Prompt engineering. You tweak the wording of your one question until it works. Context engineering. You design the entire payload: instructions, memory, retrieved facts, tools, history that surrounds the question. One polishes the prompt. The other builds the world. The prompt lands in. And as tasks turned agentic, the second one quietly took over. What a context window really is. Start with the thing itself. The context window is the model's working memory. Everything it can see in a single moment. Your message, the system instructions, the conversation so far, any documents you've pasted in, all of it lives inside this one window, measured in tokens. And if it is not in the window, the model simply does not know it. Full stop. And here's the part people get wrong. The window is not memory. It's much more like RAM or a disk. It has a fixed size, and it's wiped clean between calls. The model doesn't remember your last conversation, unless someone puts a summary of it back into the window. Every single call, the model wakes up with total amnesia and sees only what's on the desk right now. So everything the model does, every answer, every agent step is bottlenecked by this one window, which makes the obvious move very tempting. Just make the window enormous. Million token windows exist now. Surely you just dump everything in and let the model sort it out. It turns out, no. And exactly why not is the heart of this whole topic. Why bigger isn't better. Modern models advertise gigantic context windows, hundreds of thousands, even millions of tokens. But here's the dirty secret. They don't actually use all of it well. As you cram more and more in, the quality of the model's attention quietly degrades. Researchers have a name for it now: context rot. The most famous version is called lost in the middle. Put a crucial fact at the very start or the very end of a long context, and the model finds it easily. Bury that exact same fact in the middle, and it often just misses it entirely. The model pays the most attention to the two edges and skims right over the vast middle. And it's measurable. Studies through 2026 found accuracy starting to drop well before the advertised limit, sometimes around 32,000 tokens, even in a model that claims a million token window. So padding the context with marginally relevant junk doesn't just cost you money, it actively distracts the model, and the answer gets worse. More context is simply not more intelligence. Context isn't memory. This brings us to the single biggest confusion in the whole field. People use context window and memory interchangeably, and they are not the same thing at all. The window is short-term, the temporary working state, here and gone with each call. Memory is what persists across calls and across sessions. And to build anything real, you need both, kept separate on purpose. Long-term memory lives outside the model, in a store, a database, very often a vector store. The things worth keeping: who you are, your preferences, past decisions, key facts. When one becomes relevant, you retrieve it and place it into the window. The window is the desk. Long-term memory is the filing cabinet you fetch from, exactly when you need it. It helps to draw it as a grid. One axis, short-term versus long-term. Does it survive past this call? The other axis, is it about the user or about the task? Long-term user facts, like your name and your style, should persist for months. Short-term task state, like the current step, should evaporate the moment you're done. Four very different kinds of memory, constantly mistaken for one. And getting that split right is everything. Treat task scratch state as if it were permanent, and your agent clogs itself with stale junk from old tasks. Forget to persist the real user facts, and it greets you every morning like a stranger. Durable things go to long-term memory. Throwaway things stay in the window, and you fetch the right ones in on demand. The real work. Curating context. So context engineering is the discipline of deciding, at every single step, exactly what goes into that limited window. And just as importantly, what to leave out. It is fundamentally an editing job. The model's performance is downstream of how good an editor you are. So what are the tools of the trade? The first tool is retrieval, our RAG idea from before. Don't dump the whole knowledge base into the window. Search it, and inject only the handful of chunks relevant to this exact moment. Precision over volume. A few perfect snippets will beat a million tokens of noise every single time. The second tool is compression. A long agent run generates a huge trail of steps and tool outputs, far too much to keep in raw form. So you summarize the old stuff down into compact notes, keeping the gist and dropping the bulk. It's the difference between carrying every email you've ever read versus a tidy one-line summary of each. And you curate the tools too. An agent with 50 tools all crammed into its context gets confused about which one to even use. So you show it only the few that are relevant to the current task. The right instructions, the right memories, the right facts, the right tools, all assembled fresh, every step. That assembly is the engineering. The plumbing, MCP. Now all of this context, the documents, the tools, the data sources, has to actually connect to the model. And until recently, every one of those connections was bespoke. A custom integration for every tool, every app, every database. A tangled mess of one-off wiring that simply did not scale. MCP, the Model Context Protocol, fixes that. It's a single, open standard for how AI applications plug into tools and data. Think of it as a USB-C port for AI. Instead of a unique cable for every device, one universal connector. Build an MCP server for your data once, and any MCP-ware agent on Earth can use it. And that is exactly why it became foundational in 2026. Context engineering decides what the model should see. MCP is the standardized plumbing that actually delivers it, securely and at scale. The two of them together are what let agents reach out into the real world, without every single team having to reinvent the wires. The agent's information diet. So zoom out and picture an agent taking just one step. Its context window is carefully composed. The system instructions, the relevant long-term memories, the current task state, a few freshly retrieved facts, and exactly the right tools, all assembled on the fly, all flowing in over standardized connections. Nothing wasted and nothing missing. Here's that finished picture, stacked into the window. System instructions at the base, then the relevant memories, then the current task state, then a few just retrieved facts, then only the right tools, and nothing else. Curated, fresh, every step. That stack, assembled well, is the entire craft. That careful composition, the model's information diet, curated fresh at every step, is context engineering. It's why two teams using the very same model can get wildly different results. The model itself is becoming a commodity. What you choose to feed it is the real edge. So here's the whole idea. The context window is a small precious disk, not a memory, and it rots if you pile junk onto it. Real memory lives outside and gets fetched in. The skill is curating what sits on that disk at every moment. Retrieve, compress, select. And MCP is the standard plumbing that delivers it. Prompt engineering was finding the right words, Context engineering is building the right world for the model to think in. So the next time an AI gives you a brilliant answer or a baffling one, look past the model to its context. Because in 2026, the model is rarely the bottleneck. What you put in front of it is. Subscribe for more such intuitive videos